Hello everyone, Mr. Hissner here, and today we're going to continue on with the law of cosines. Now this is law of cosines part 2, Boogaloo, which is finding the angle measures. So this idea is that we're going to have our x is going to be our unknown angle, and then from there we're going to have to use the inverse. Now remember, whenever we are using the inverse with these laws of sines, laws of cosine, it will be no different. We're going to be using 4 decimal points, 4 decimal places in order to ensure accuracy. Now this is our law of cosines that we have here. And again, I have the first one underlined because that's going to be the idea of this whole thing. Yeah, the other ones are nice to use, but they're extra. Okay, let's just see. If you watch the video from the other day, you'll know what I mean as that, because we really just need one of these. And again, I always like to just think, I'm just going to think of it as this one, right? So it's just going to be my side, the angle opposite the side, the side opposite the angle. So that's what we have here. And what am I going to do? Well, that's what I'm going to be using. Notice like A cosine of A. So it's going to be side cosine of angle across from side, right? These things work in tandem. It's the angle and the side opposite the angle, and so that's what I'm going to be focusing on here. And so that's what what was my x, and finding the sides will now be it'll still be alone on the equal side. So this is the other two sides squared minus 2 times the product of those sides times the cosine of the angle, which in this one is just x. And so now you'll know that this is what we want to find. And so what we have to do is do some computations, and we want to get this thing alone. We want this to be our our variable, since x is in there. And then we're going to have to use the inverse function to kind of get the x away from the cosine. Okay, so this is 49 is equal to 144 plus 121 minus 2 times this 768 times the cosine of x. Okay, so I'm going to put these two things together. 42 is equal to 832 minus 768 times the cosine of x. And now I'm going to just start doing some solving here. So I'm going to start to balance this equation. So I got minus 832, not 832 from both sides. Okay, these two cancel, and I'm going to have a negative number. Oh no, duh. 49, what did I do here? My bad. Brain has gas. I was looking at the wrong one. 6,246. Okay, so again, same thing here. 49er. These two together, this is 265 minus 246 cosine of x. And again, I'm going to be balancing this equation. So this is going to be a negative number. This is 216 is equal to negative 246. And then I'm going to have to divide. Again, I'm looking for x. How do I think of this? I'm looking for x. So there's two things here. This is the first thing, the number, and then the trig function is the second thing. So to get rid of the number, I'm going to divide both sides by 246 by negative 246. And this I want 246. So when I do this, I'll do this on the side. So cosine. Notice that this is the step that I'm going to have to be using the inverse function. So when I divide these two numbers, when I do this step, this is the 4 decimal places I want. Okay, so negative 216 divided by negative 246. When you round these decimals, you get 0.8182. And that's the number that I want to use the inverse function on. So I'm just going to go ahead and type that into the calculator, beep, boop, bop, boop, and we find that these two cancel now. Cosine inverse and cosine cancel, so we're left with just x. And then when we boop, boop, bop this into the calculator, this is 35.1 degrees. So the idea here is to set up this problem. What we want to do is use our side opposite the angle to be alone on the equal sign. And our angle we want in here, means that we're going to have to use the inverse function. So square the numbers, add them together, do the multiplication, and then just start balancing the equation. Subtract from both sides, divide by the number on cosine of x, and then multiply both sides by the cosine inverse. And when you are doing that divides, this is when you want your 4 decimal places. So make sure that you're keeping all 4 of these and then putting cosine inverse into the calculator. If you feel good with this, that's all for you. I'm going to do one more problem for those of us. Oh, you know what? I can leave that there. I can do one more problem for those of us who want to see one more. And I'm going to do this one quicker just so you can see that all these problems have a very predictable pattern. So here's my angle. Here's the one across from it. That means I'm going to be taking the 35 squared is equal to the square of the other two sides minus 2 times the product of the two sides times the cosine of the angle. And here it is x. Okay, 35 squared, this is 1225, 1225. 16 squared is 576, 576. And no, it's not. 24 squared is 576. 15 squared is 256. Yeah, that's a multiple of 2. 256. This is a bit. This is a bit number. Okay, then 2 times 24 times 16, I got 768. Cosine of x. And now, this is all we're going to do here is balance our equation. So I'm going to add these two numbers together and then subtract that from both sides. So this is 832. So these cancel. And then 393 is equal to negative 68 cosine x. What did that do? That's going to add this to both sides. Nah. Duh. Still going to divide, but it's going to make this negative. These two cancel. And this is the part where we want our 4 decimal places. Okay, 4 decimal places are negative 0.5117 is equal to cosine of x. And now we want to do the inverse to both sides. So these two cancel. We're left with just x. And it is equal to the cosine of negative 0.511. It's cosine. I remember when we were doing sines, it was anything greater than 1. Cosine inverse, you can have negatives. Cosine inverse looks like this. And where this is negative 1 and 1. So I still think that, so yeah, this is negative 1, this is 1, positive 1. Anything greater than 1 will give you an error. But you can have negative numbers. You can have a negative number as long as it's less than 1. Anything greater than 1 or less than negative 1 will give you a syntax error. It'll give you an endpoint error, something that does not exist. Okay, so we find this to be approximately 120.8 degrees. All right, guys. Again, I don't think that this is too much. It's mostly just number work. And once we get through it, it's mostly actually calculator work. The whole idea is making sure that you're setting up this correctly. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. And then we got the answer. So it's a 4-step equation. Not much. If you had to take 4 steps, I don't think that you would be tired afterwards. All right, guys. Thanks for watching.